Hello, my name is Debbie Wetzler, and I wanted to talk to you today about how large an area redox technology really is. I see it as growing around the world, and there are still some people who don't realize what a big area of science this really is. The little molecules that we make inside of our body is something that our company has been able to make and stabilize identically outside the human body. But these little molecules are a relatively new area of science because they weren't really able to see these molecules before about 1990. We didn't have instruments sophisticated enough because they are so tiny. They are 4 atoms big or smaller, and they do their work in nanoseconds. So we didn't have the instruments sophisticated enough to be able to see what they were really doing. Before that time, they thought that it was actually waste material created by the cells. Then, after around 1990, they were able to really find out how foundational these molecules are to allow your body to communicate signal and allow your body to heal through that communication. When your body knows where to go to help it heal, then that's imperative for the healing process. And so, with your permission, I'm going to share my screen. There have been so many different things that have happened since 1990. There's been Nobel Prizes and all kinds of things. So I'm going to share my screen and share some of that with you today. And we're going to start with this slide. So when I first learned about this, it was about 10 years ago. And I was lucky enough to have a friend who was very, very smart. She had graduated from Johns Hopkins as a molecular biologist. She had done years of research at the National Institutes of Health. And when I took the information, I will never forget what happened that day. I put the information down in front of her, and she almost fell off her chair. She looked at me and said, "Debbie, I've been studying these molecules for 17 years, and we've had scientists from around the world come and try to do this. Are you telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form?" And when I said yes, not knowing how big this was, she looked at me and said, "You have no idea how massive this is. This will change our field as you know it." And she went on to pull a textbook right from off of her shelf in front of her computer. And when you opened it, it was all about redox, to my amazement. And she was the first one to start explaining in detail what these little molecules could do. So she first told me that they regulate every major system in the body: the endocrine system, the circulatory system, the nervous system, the lymphatic system, all the systems, because they do this at a cellular level. Because if all the cells in those systems are healthy, then the systems will be healthy, because cells make up tissues that make up organs that make up systems. And she told me that they did this by first protecting the cells in your body, and they are meant to be protected so that they live a certain length of time in a very healthy state. However, because of all the stress and toxins and sometimes diseases that happen, they become damaged. So then they are meant to go and find those damaged cells wherever they are in the body. And she was the first one to tell me these molecules are so tiny that they will also cross the blood-brain barrier. So anything in the brain that's been going on that has been damaged, it will also detect those and help send the signal for repair. So then they are meant to, the signal goes out to the immune system, and the immune system comes in. If the cell's not too badly damaged, then it can repair that cell. However, sometimes the cells are so badly damaged that they can't be repaired. And in that way, the cell is meant to kill itself off, and the dead cell is taken away by the body, and then a healthy cell next to it will replace itself with another healthy cell. And in that way, these molecules allow the body to find the damaged cells so it can repair and replace. The issue is, as we get older, we lose these molecules and the mitochondria that produce them, so that produces our energy, at a rate of about 10% every decade. So by the time we get to 70, we're at about 10% of what we used to make when we were a young child. And you can always tell the difference between a young child and an older person by the energy that they have, that they run around all day, do all kinds of things, go to the playground, roll down hills, kick up their legs, do everything. And they still go to bed every night, wake up every morning with no sore muscles or no aching backs. But if a 70-year-old tried to keep up with a 5-year-old, the same thing wouldn't happen. You can also see it on the outside of the body, because as the outside of the body becomes older and the cells stop regenerating as quickly and the damage starts happening, we get wrinkles and bags and sags, the same on the inside of our body. But a 5-year-old's face and skin is just absolutely beautiful. So you can really tell the difference in the lack of these molecules in the body, because the body's just not healing as quickly as it used to. So the best analogy I could give you is that our cells and our body are the most complex communication network. And sometimes in our bodies, there's a house on fire. And we call the fire department, expecting the fire department to come, and they have all the equipment they need to be able to put out the fire and all the water they need and everything else. However, as we get older, it's like our cell phone only has 2 bars on it. And that fire department cannot hear the address of where to go to put out that fire. And they keep asking, where are you? And you keep telling them where you are, but they can't hear you. So what happens? The house burns down. However, once we can add these new healthy redox molecules to our body starts functioning in a younger way again. The fire department can now hear the address of where to go, and it can come and put out that fire. So she went on to explain to me, the molecular biologist, how very big this was. And she showed me articles and journals and textbooks that had been published monthly. And at the time, there was about 1,200 books. Now there's well over that. And she actually went to PubMed.gov. She wanted to look up if there were some studies that had already been done with Redox. And so at the time, there was about 2,000 to 3,000 already peer-reviewed studies that had been done with Redox. And now, depending, and if you type in redox signaling molecules with quotes around it, it will look up each of those words. So there's between 18,000 and 80,000 peer-reviewed studies, depending on how you look it up. It's quite impressive. Since then, Dr. James Watson of Watson and Crick, who discovered the double helix of DNA and won a Nobel Prize for it, published an article in the Lancet Medical Journal stating that type 2 diabetes, cancer, and brain disorders were the lack of redox signaling molecules. He's the first one to speculate that if we had enough redox signaling molecules, we would never be sick. She also sent me this article after it happened about NIH, the National Institutes of Health, granting the Medical University of South Carolina a $10.5 million grant to open a redox research center. Then they sent $2.3 million to Cornell to open their redox research center. And of course, Harvard has their own, and they're all studying something different. So Harvard is studying the role of redox with regard to aging, cancer, and male reproduction and disease prevention. So you can see that every different institution is studying something a little different. Vanderbilt opened theirs, Wake Forest, Rochester, the University of Colorado here in Boulder, the University of Wisconsin, the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, and several in California. And these are just in the United States, the ones that I know about. So you can see how huge this area of science is. They're all studying something different. And then just last June, there was a 19th annual Redox Congress in Paris, where doctors from around the world flew in to see what new things was happening with redox signaling molecules. And so you can see what a large area of science this is. We were just the only company to be able to tap in, to find the formula that we were able to recreate these molecules and stabilize them so that they can help our bodies heal itself. So thank you very much for listening. And I will stop sharing now.